Have you ever felt like your mind is sabotaging you? Like certain negative thoughts keep repeating uncontrollably, trapping you in the same cycle of worries, insecurities, and anxiety. Maybe you've tried to change the way you think, only to find yourself falling back into old habits. What most people don't realize is that this doesn't happen because you're weak or incapable, it happens because your brain has been programmed this way over time. The good news? This programming can be changed. Imagine your mind as a trail in a forest. The more you walk along this trail, the more familiar and easy it becomes to follow. The problem is, if this trail is negative, it leads you to places you don't want to be: anxiety, stress, lack of motivation. But what if you could create a new path? A mental trail that leads to more peace, confidence, and clarity. It's entirely possible, and in this video, you'll learn how. Science has already proven that our brain has something called neuroplasticity, meaning it can be reprogrammed at any time. Small adjustments in the way we think, speak, and act can create new neural connections, strengthening healthy habits and eliminating destructive patterns. And no, this doesn't require drastic changes. You don't need to become a completely different person overnight. Transformation happens gradually, and it all starts with a single step. Over the next few minutes, you'll learn practical techniques to reprogram your mind and take control of your mental health. We'll explore how to identify and modify negative patterns, build habits that strengthen your mindset, and even use breathing and language to your advantage. More than that, you'll see how small daily changes can transform the way you feel, think, and act. Now, before we move forward, take a moment to reflect. What thoughts tend to dominate your mind on a daily basis? Are they pushing you forward or holding you back? Let's explore together how to change this programming and carve a new path for your mind. Most people don't realize it, but a large part of what we think and do every day happens on autopilot. Our brain seeks efficiency, so it creates patterns to simplify decisions. However, if these patterns are negative, they can trap us in cycles of anxiety, procrastination, and self-sabotage. And the worst part? Many times, we don't even notice we're stuck in this system. Think about how often you've reacted automatically to a difficult situation. Maybe you felt fear before even trying something new. Or criticized yourself before even assessing the facts. This happens because your mind is wired to repeat old patterns, even if they're no longer useful. The problem is, if you don't question these patterns, they continue to control you. Science explains this clearly. When you think or act in a certain way repeatedly, you create strong neural connections, like train tracks. The more you reinforce a negative thought, such as, "I never succeed," or, "I'm not good enough," the faster and more automatic it becomes. Before long, it becomes your reality. Your brain doesn't distinguish between what's true and what's just a repeated thought. Now, imagine someone who has always been told they weren't capable of achieving their goals. Since childhood, they received messages of failure and inadequacy. Over time, their mind accepted this idea as fact. Even when opportunities arise, this person unconsciously sabotages themselves because their brain is already accustomed to this pattern. And the worst part? The more it happens, the more reinforced this cycle becomes. But what if I told you it's possible to break this cycle? That small adjustments in your daily life can reverse years of negative mental programming. The first step in this transformation is simple yet powerful: awareness. Recognizing when we're on autopilot is the first step toward change. Now, think about it. What patterns has your mind been reinforcing without you even realizing it? Could some of your daily challenges stem from this automatic programming? In the next chapter, we'll explore how the brain can be reprogrammed and what changes begin to create new neural pathways. If your mind can be programmed to reinforce negative patterns, that means it can also be reprogrammed to create positive ones. And here's the key point: you don't need to change everything at once. Small, consistent changes lead to big transformations. Imagine your mind as a dense forest. For years, you've walked a specific trail, flattening the ground and making the path more visible and easy to follow. This path represents your automatic thoughts and habits. The problem is, if this trail leads you to bad places, like insecurity, anxiety, or procrastination, continuing down it will only reinforce those destinations. Now, what happens if you start creating a new trail, even little by little? At first, it will be difficult because the vegetation is high and the path feels unfamiliar. But if you persist, soon this new trail will become easier and more natural than the old one. This is how neuroplasticity works. The brain forms new neural connections as you repeat new patterns until they become your new normal. But how do you start this change? First, you need to observe your own thoughts and identify the patterns that are holding you back. Try this simple exercise right now. For the next few seconds, notice the most recurring thought in your mind. Maybe it's something like, I'm never good enough, things always go wrong for me, or, I have no control over my life. If you identified a thought like this, congratulations. That's the first step to change, awareness. Now, instead of simply accepting this thought as absolute truth, try this exercise, question it. Ask yourself, is this thought 100% true? Is there real evidence to support it? If a friend thought this way, what would I say to them? Most of the time, you'll realize that these thoughts are just automatic repetitions, not facts. And when you start questioning them, you weaken their hold over your life. From now on, every time a limiting thought appears, try replacing it with a more helpful version. Instead of saying, I never succeed, try, I'm learning at my own pace. Instead of, I have no control, say, I can change my approach and try again. This shift may seem subtle, but with repetition, your brain will begin to accept these new mental pathways as the main routes. In the next chapter, we'll explore 5 practical strategies to strengthen this mental reprogramming in your daily life. Now that you understand how your mind creates automatic patterns and that they can be reprogrammed, let's move on to the practical part. Small daily changes can build new neural connections, making reprogramming feel natural. To do this, we'll explore 5 powerful strategies that can transform your mindset. Many of our negative mental patterns come from distorted automatic thoughts. Cognitive restructuring is a technique that helps us question and modify these thoughts, making them more realistic and healthy. For example, imagine you made a mistake at work and automatically think, I'm terrible at this, I'll never get it right. This thought not only affects your self-confidence but also reinforces a cycle of self-sabotage. What should you do in that moment? Challenge the thought. Ask yourself, is this thought 100% true? Do I have concrete proof that I'm incapable, or am I just reacting on autopilot? How would I respond if a friend said this about themselves? By challenging negative thoughts, you begin to weaken their impact and create space for more constructive beliefs. Mental reprogramming doesn't happen overnight. It depends on consistency, and this is where daily habits come into play. Your routine is what defines your long-term mental patterns. Want a simple example? Studies show that writing down 3 things you're grateful for each day can significantly improve emotional well-being. This happens because your mind starts focusing on the positive instead of only seeing what's wrong. Another small but powerful change is mindfulness. We often live on autopilot, unaware of our thoughts. Taking 5 minutes a day to simply breathe deeply, slow down, and observe the present moment can make all the difference in breaking negative patterns. Small habits, when repeated, create new neural pathways. The key isn't making drastic changes but sustaining small daily improvements. What you say about yourself has a huge impact on your mindset. Our mind absorbs the way we speak, and negative words reinforce negative patterns. Try paying attention throughout the day. Do you often say things like, I'm anxious, I'm disorganized, I'm terrible at this? How about replacing them with, I'm learning to manage my anxiety, I'm getting more organized, and, I'm not great at this yet, but I'm improving. Words shape our thoughts, and thoughts shape our behaviors. Changing the way you talk about yourself may seem like a small detail, but over time, your mind will start accepting these new narratives as truth. Our brain learns best when it is challenged progressively. If you feel stuck in patterns of fear, insecurity, or procrastination, one of the best ways to reprogram your mind is through small controlled challenges. Here's how it works. If you're afraid of public speaking, you don't need to start by giving a big speech. Begin by speaking up more in small meetings. If you procrastinate on big projects, try working for just 5 uninterrupted minutes. If you feel like you lack discipline, commit to a small daily habit, like drinking more water or going to bed on time. Every time you face a small challenge and overcome it, your brain registers it as a win, strengthening positive neural connections. Over time, these small challenges turn into habits, and eventually, your mindset transforms. Finally, we can't forget that the mind and body are completely connected. Your physical state influences your thoughts, and your breathing has a direct impact on your mental health. Have you ever noticed that when you're anxious, your breathing becomes short and rapid? This signals to your brain that you're in danger, increasing stress. The good news is that you can reverse this consciously. Try this exercise right now. Inhale deeply through your nose, counting to 4. Hold your breath for 4 seconds. Exhale slowly through your mouth, counting to 6. This sends a signal of calm to the brain, helping to break anxious thought patterns. Beyond breathing, body movement is also essential. Something as simple as stretching when you wake up, taking a 10-minute walk, or engaging in any form of physical activity can directly influence your mental state. When you align mind and body, mental reprogramming becomes even more effective. Now that we've explored these 5 practical strategies, how can we apply them in daily life to ensure that this change is lasting? In the next chapter, we'll recap everything and understand the first step to starting this transformation in a practical way. Now that you understand how your mind works and how small adjustments can transform your thought patterns, the big question arises: what will you do with this knowledge? Real change doesn't happen the moment you learn something new, it happens when you put that knowledge into action. And the good news? You don't have to wait for a big moment to start. All you need is to take one small first step today. Let's quickly recap the strategies we covered. Keycap 1: Cognitive restructuring, identifying and questioning negative thoughts. Keycap 2: The power of routine, small daily habits that strengthen your new mindset. Keycap 3: The impact of language, adjusting the way you talk about yourself. Keycap 4: Training your mind with small challenges, facing discomfort progressively. Keycap 5: The connection between body and mind, using physical movement to reprogram mental patterns. Now, choose one strategy to apply today. It can be something simple. White heavy check mark observing your thoughts and questioning one of them. White heavy check mark replacing a negative statement with a positive affirmation. White heavy check mark doing a breathing exercise when you feel anxious. It may seem small, but the truth is that this is how mental reprogramming begins, with tiny daily decisions that, over time, create a new path. And here's a powerful reminder: your mind is adaptable. You're not stuck in the way you think today. Every thought you reinforce or let go of is shaping the future version of yourself. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these strategies will you apply first? Comment below and share your experience. Let's create a new path together toward a stronger and healthier mind. And if you found this content valuable, don't forget to like and share. Not only does it help me continue bringing this kind of material, but it might also help someone who needs to hear this message today. Your mental reprogramming starts now. The only question is, are you ready to take the first step?